Good evening. We are broadcasting on a special night due to the fact that last night we couldn't get through. There was technical difficulty in the broadcasting of the show, uh, cable differences and problems. Things like this happen. So I decided to do this broadcast, very important broadcast tonight, because a lot of people, when I posted it, a lot of people, wanted to know about it. A lot of people wanted to listen in on the topic here, what State of Mental Radio, what my thoughts were on it, because the show is becoming very popular. I say it's the thinkers show. It's the show of the intelligent people who don't want to turn on nonsense and listen to a lot of people playing music and cursing and acting like savages and acting like a bunch of, just no nonsense. Something that'll really make you think. And I wanted to touch on this topic because you have a future race of our people coming up, black men, coming up in the world, and we trying to figure out what this phenomenon is with black males today, should I say black men today, and it's linked to a lot of how they're raised, and it's not looked at a lot. It's not talked about enough. It's not examined enough, and we're going to do that tonight. Like I said, I'm a little bit off tonight, but I'm going to catch up to the speed of things because, like I said, it's kind of an off night for me. I really didn't expect to do this. I was going to hold this off until Monday, and I'd usually get up to speed around that time. But you all here that are listening, I'm going to gear myself up. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkares, and this is State of Mental Radio. Tonight, we're going to discuss the new effeminate black males. Not black men, black males. This is what has replaced black men. You don't see what we were privy to seeing, those of us who were raised up, 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, under our fathers, those of us who had fathers in the household. You don't see the same type of men anymore. Men who worked, men who took care of their families. I mean, the black man, they left their families and did things back then, but there was a different kind of black man. Anyone can see the difference between then and now. The type of black men, or should I say black males, that are coming up in the society. And, as I'm watching it, as we're going out and we're promoting the State of Mental, the Supermen, Superwomen project, you get to talk to people and you get to see the mentality of people, and you just start to get a feel for people and realize certain things, that something like this, the State of Mental that we're promoting, which is I always refer to as our Nation of Islam in this new millennium, our Garvey movement, our thing for the people who were born 1970 and after. This is our thing. Our flag has to be raised. We have to do something for our generation, something that will distinguish us as a new black men, a new group of black men, and a new group of black women. We have to come into our own. And trying to establish this with people born 1970 and after, 42 years and down, is very hard. Very hard, especially with the men, or should I say the black males. Because in the old movements, there was an element, in the Freemasonry and the Moorish science and Islam under the Nation of Islam and things like that, the last millennium organizations, Garvey's movement, the UNIA. There was a sense of black manhood there. There was a sense of black manhood. There was a sense of brotherhood, a sense of togetherness amongst black men back then. Not so now. That is not the case. When we talk to a lot of black males, I'm not going to say black men, because this group of males that we have that have replaced the black men, they are anything but, or anything, they've fallen short of what it is to be men in this society. Basically, men who stand up for things, who stood for something in the past. You don't see that today in black males. The black men have been replaced with black males purposely. People who stand for nothing, people who are focused on nothing, people who are strong about nothing. It's just a bunch of confusion, a bunch of weakness, a bunch of lukewarm, spineless beings. Damn near asexual. Now, I said you don't have to be effeminate. You don't have to be a homosexual to be effeminate in your mannerisms, in your thinking, in your interaction with people. You see that a lot in the black males today. And I don't care if you're 40 years old. It's even in our generation, some even 50, but it starts to kind of tear off. But in the 50s, even on down, you start to see this weakness in black males who were supposed to be growing into black men. Who were supposed to naturally grow into black men at the rearing of fathers and mothers who were planted, who had the mentality of black men and black women planted in them. And you don't see that. Why? It can all be traced back to one thing. And now, when I say this, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming the black woman. I'm just stating the fact. The majority of the black males today, due to their rearing, the majority of them being reared by single mothers, helped to bring about this effeminate nature in them. There was a bonding process, and I was fortunate enough to grow up with a father. I had my father in my life, and I was happy because I always said my mother could not have raised me and my brother, and we had two sisters. She couldn't have raised us alone. And I told her this, because one day she was kind of getting at my father, talking about the things he did. But I always remembered him being a strong father in my life. And had I not had him in my life, I would have been dead right now. I would have gotten into all kinds of trouble. I mean, I got into trouble later on in my life, but never under his watch, never on his watch. He taught me what it was to be a man, what it was to be responsible, what it was to be strong. Our bonding time consisted of us going out, when, I was able to get haircuts, and he'd take me to get haircuts by his barber. We'd all get me, my brother, and him would go out and get father and son haircuts. I remember those days. His barber's name was Mo, old school guy, used to cut our hair. And it still resonates with me as our bonding time as fathers and sons. Males in this generation, due to the fact that they don't have fathers, real men to rear them into manhood, don't develop that in themselves. They are raised by women. And women, though I know you are forced to be, a lot of times things go wrong with the child's father, you're forced to be in that predicament. You didn't expect it. I'm not saying it's your fault. You have to raise your children. But keep in mind, women do not know instinctively how to raise men. They don't, because they're not men. Women start off instinctively knowing how to raise females, girls. And when they do certain things to the boys, because they're not instinctively keyed in on raising boys into men, they do things like let their hair grow long, braid their hair, dread their hair, put earrings in the boys' ears, even if it's just one, sometimes two. That's because you are subconsciously geared to raising female children, girls. So you start to subconsciously effeminize the boys because you were used to, or you understand what would look good on a girl. So it translates into that boy. And a lot of women, when I put that there, I said, about women putting braids in the boys' hair and, putting twists and all this stuff, letting the boys' hair grow long. A lot of women who had dreads and, women who have long hair who don't see anything wrong with it, they said they got at me real hard. They got mad. They was like, oh, that's not the reason. I don't agree. But they never gave a real answer. They never gave a real logical reason why they disagreed. They just say disagreed because obviously it was a personal thing. You understand? It was a personal thing. And when you personalize things, you can't logically sit back and look at what's being said. You can't logically analyze a statement because it's touching you personally. But it's not about you personally. It's about what's logical and what's factual. You're doing things, you're putting energy into a boy child that you would put into a female or a girl child, and you're rearing him like a little female. You're allowing him to do things. You're breeding a mentality in him, which you see in a lot of young black men that is effeminate, that's catty. You notice black men are spoiled. Young black boys are spoiled. They don't have a real strong check on their emotions, which is why you see a lot of young black men today, they kill each other in the streets without even thinking about it because they have emotional problems. You know, they have temper tantrums. They don't have their emotions in check, much like women who are not in control. A lot of times women are not in control of their emotions. And a real woman would be the first to admit that. So what does she do? She breeds that in boys. Right? Used to be a time when the fathers raised the sons. What did the fathers teach them? Teach the sons to knuckle up. We would just have fist fights to settle our differences, you know, or whatever. You know, nobody ended up dead. When I came up, you know, my father would send me down, you know, and you know, he had me boxing with him and stuff like that, or, you know, teaching me how to defend myself. Now young black men just shoot each other in the street because of their emotional problems, which they inherit from mothers, from women. They don't know how to cope or deal with being challenged. So they react like women. They react like females. They do or let their emotions run unchecked. Okay? It even goes over into how they deal with females when they get with them, when they get the women pregnant, when they don't live up to their responsibilities of being fathers because they didn't have any fathers in their lives to show them. They had their mothers. They had their mothers who they might have heard complaining about men or about the fathers who were not really in their lives, or just talking about men in general in a bad way. So this went over into their mentality. This made them irresponsible. This made them not stand up as men. Women sit up there and say, I don't know why my son is like that. When, you know, he doesn't take care of his children. He's just out here making babies, irresponsible. A powerful line was said in The Godfather. I remember this movie. I remember this line very well. He in the movie The Godfather, the mafia boss Don Vito Corleone said, women and children can afford to be careless, not men. Women and children can afford to be careless, not men. And I know some women say, well, I can't be careless because I got to take care of my children and things like that. And you are right. You have to. You can't be careless in this time because, you know, if you're a single mother, you have to take care of your children. However, you can't deny that men have to be the strongest ones in this messed up world. They have to be responsible. They have to lead or, you know, stand forward and stand firm in rearing a family. And in order to put you all on an equal footing together, in order to bring about a buoyancy or bring about an equality between the man and the woman, he has to stand up strong. You can't stand up strong alone, and that's been the problem. There used to be a time where women, you know, back in the 30s and 40s, they would look for men, let's say, that things didn't work out with their husbands or the children's father and they didn't have a father. They would look for men to marry, even if they weren't all that attracted to these men, even if they wasn't really feeling it. They just wanted a strong man to be a role model for their son. If they had sons, they wanted a strong man in their life because they knew they couldn't raise boys. They knew the boys wouldn't listen to them once they got to be a certain age. So they looked for father figures for their children. Not so today. Black women, because of the women's lib movement and the 60s and all that madness that pulled black women into that, felt that they didn't have to have a man in their life to raise male or young boys into men. Right? They said they can do it on their own. And Chris Rock said the funniest thing. He said, yeah, you can do it, but is it to be done? Is it to be done that you should raise or try to raise a black boy into a man? Many have tried, and many have failed. This is why we have the situation we have today with black males. This is why we have the situation of black men falling out of existence and being replaced with black males. Those who are anatomically correct but mentally wrong. Those who are anatomically correct, meaning they have the penises and the testicles, that don't make you a man. You understand? Being able to make babies and lay up and whatnot and fight, that don't make you a man. What makes you a man is what you stand for, what you